Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. Do you subscribe or listen to podcasts? Perhaps you listen to your favourite preacher or a musician. You catch up on a radio show that you've missed. I'm glad you're joining us today. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of hosting a short radio programme which airs in the United Kingdom, as well as being broadcast on some Christian radio stations in Australia. It's also available on our Wesley Mission website as a podcast. In producing these programmes, we're bringing Bible passages and teaching and songs to a new audience and looking at different ways at some social issues concerning the work of Wesley Mission. My guests today also know the power of communicating in this way. Michael Jensen and Megan Powell de Toit are co-hosts of a podcast called With All Due Respect. But they don't always see eye to each other on social or theological issues. We'll find a little more about that in a moment or two, and having a conversation about how you can have respectful debate when you disagree on issues. We'll be joined by Dee Uluirewa, who will sing with Craig Gower and the Wesley Impact Band, I Will Exalt You. And a little later in the show, I'll be talking about investing for the long haul, but not just talking about money, of course, with a look at spiritual character in Christian discipleship. But first, Wesley Mission has been working with the homeless since we began our work over 200 years ago. Along with the way we've changed and adapted our programs and services for society, today we're having to really look at what it is that we try to do with homeless people, not just providing meals, but somewhere where people can talk and find more about themselves and find help in the most all-embracing way. Our goal is to meet people at their point of need and encourage them to find purpose and meaning for their lives. An integral part of this is Edward Eagle Lodge, which is a facility we have in downtown Sydney in Surrey Hills, where we provide refuge for the homeless. We've operated from this building for a long number of years, and it's time for a complete refurbishment, and we're in the middle of doing that. To help raise awareness and gather funds for our work, we held a fundraising lunch called Heroes United, when we described to our guests what we try to do and why. Let's take a look together.
There are more than 116,000 people experiencing homelessness in Australia. That's 1 in 200 people homeless across our country. And the reality is, homelessness can happen to anyone. Domestic violence, a shortage of affordable housing, unemployment, mental illness, family breakdown, and drug and alcohol abuse all contribute to homelessness in Australia. In New South Wales, more than 35,000 people are experiencing homelessness across our cities, suburbs, and in regional areas. Many are women and children. In fact, in the last year, 57.5% of people accessing homeless services were female, and 24.7% were children aged 14 years or under. And with the rate of homelessness in New South Wales continuing to rise, the need for support has never been greater. Wesley Homeless Services helps individuals and families who find themselves without a safe place to stay or who are at risk of losing their home. It's been part of who we are for the last 200 years. We believe everyone has the right to a safe place to live. That's why we help provide access to short and long-term accommodation, rent assistance, and other important services to help individuals and families get back on track. Last year, Wesley Mission provided 105,681 nights of accommodation to support people like David.
The first day I met the workers, they were 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 a.m. on a cold morning. We were all shuffled and scuffling underneath the tables, hiding away from these people that were annoying us. But 2 particular ladies, they came to me 3 times and they said to me, "Would you come with us now?" I went, "Well, I'll come with you right now." I had no idea where I was going. we ended up at a place called Eagle Lodge. Within 10 minutes, they had a room set up for me. And I went straight to this room. It was a quiet room. It had a bed, single. Most people will go, ew. But when you're homeless, you go, ah.
Wesley Edward Eagle Lodge offers individual secure rooms for short-term emergency accommodation for people in crisis. Every day, our staff provide practical care and compassion. And although we've been providing support at Wesley Edward Eagle Lodge since the 1970s, our building and facilities are now desperately in need of an upgrade to ensure we can provide the very best support for more people in years to come. The proposed works include providing accessible rooms for people with disability and opportunities for increased community connection, along with intensifying the range and level of services offered to all residents, helping to improve long-term outcomes.
So please come to Heroes United and help us help the homeless.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
Our website and contact details are on the screen now, and if we can help you or somebody that you care about in some way, please contact us. Do you feel that society has lost its ability to hold a constructive conversation on social issues of national importance and world value? Well, an unlikely pairing of two Christian ministers have come together in a weekly podcast looking at social issues from different theological points of view. It could sound like a pious argument between clergy, but I think it's much more than that, and it's something that it can be meaningful. Reverend Dr. Michael Jensen and Reverend Megan Powell de Toit attempt to talk about social issues from a Christian perspective. And if nothing else, they demonstrate that there are many shades of grey that must take place in any conversation on any issue. Let's take a listen.
I'm Michael Jensen, and she's... What's your name again?
Hi, I'm Megan Powell du Toit, and this is
Michael Jensen.
And we have a podcast together.
We do. We disagree a lot, and so what we decided to do was to get a podcast together and to disagree in front of everyone. For instance, the Sydney Diocese has a particular view of women's ministry, which you mightn't hold. That's fine. But I
quite definitely do not hold.
No, I know.
Yes.
But okay, that was just a guess. And we'd love you to listen to us. And we'd love to join in the conversation with all due respect, which is the name of our podcast.
Because we see this as not just a conversation between us, but hopefully one that we start to have with the community around us.
That's right. See you there.
Welcome, Michael and Megan. Good to have you here. Megan, you and Michael don't always see eye to eye on social issues. How did the podcast come about?
Because of that. So we were friends on Facebook, and we had 2 days running of having arguments together on Facebook. And I was trying to calm it down. So I just threw a one-liner out there saying, look, I think we don't see eye to eye, but we could do a really good podcast together, a la Margaret and David from the movie show. You have to be older to get that.
I do know who they are. I do know who they are, unfortunately.
I'm Margaret, by the way, in that.
So I just meant it as a joke, but 2 weeks later, Michael got back to me and said, actually, I think that's a good idea. Would you like to do it? Because I guess, we were arguing, but we both had been trying to be respectful, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think arguing can be a really constructive thing. It's not, ignorance and turning your back on the other person is actually not, or
Michael,
just not
what are you trying to
talking.
achieve? Let me, in a nutshell.
Well, I'm trying to honour Jesus Christ actually by showing how Christians can model what our society found so difficult, and that is to talk about what we disagree about in a constructive way, and where I might actually learn something, and where it actually might go further. It might be a creative disagreement, and to do that in a peaceable way, in a way which models good listening. I think Christians should be excellent at it. And the trouble was, of course, in social media land, we're
were
not very
actually
good at it.
sometimes worse, I
We're
think.
sometimes
Yeah.
worse.
And let me just say, I don't want to be rude, but the church isn't very good at it either,
No,
is
no,
it?
no, we're
really?
terrible. No, it's a disgrace, actually. I mean, I think in this, particularly in this day and age where we've got a fast secularising society, you realise we've got to make friends here. We've got to testify to Jesus. It doesn't mean that we've got to give away our convictions or be someone we're not. In fact, quite the opposite. But we've got to at least come together.
A couple of the themes you've addressed, what have you been...
We've looked at religious freedom. We've looked at social justice.
We talked about beauty.
Well, that was in the middle of the Israel Folau thing, and we actually thought, no, we don't want to talk about that.
Well, probably there was so much being said about it at the time.
Yeah, and I think wasn't really getting anywhere. And we thought, what do people need? They need to think about things that are good and noble and can bring something that brings people together.
We talked about Christian schools, so we've got very different backgrounds when it comes to schooling and what we do with our kids, and that's a very contentious issue amongst Christians.
We did a live cast just before the election about how we do politics as Christians.
Yeah, and then we followed up on that because Christians were, on both sides of the argument when it came to the election. Some were overjoyed, some were dismayed.
And what was the biggest point of difference between you?
One, I guess, is that I'm an ordained woman.
Oh, yes. Tell us more.
So there's a...
And his crowd struggle with that, don't
They
they?
do, yeah.
Yes.
And you would sit somewhere different on that.
Yeah, so I work with the Sydney Anglican Diocese. We don't ordain women, and that's one of the most tense issues that I think divides Christians in Australia, in Sydney, and elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so it's a shame that we're not actually talking to one another about that. And that doesn't, as I say, I don't think it means you have to give up your convictions necessarily.
I suppose the difficult thing is when you've pushed the conversation, you say, even when we push the conversation, we can't find a way out of this that enables us to find in a conversation, when two of you are having a conversation, you find a third alternative over here. That's very difficult on some of those issues, isn't it?
Yes, some of them. I mean, we don't try and resolve everything in our conversation. Sometimes I've had people say, neither of you came anywhere. Like they didn't get somewhere. And I said, but life doesn't get somewhere.
Yeah.
Conversations, that's how normal conversations happen. That it's and we kind of see what we're doing as a journey, a relationship between us two as well. I mean, we're changing each other.
Look, this is
He doesn't like me saying that.
But you probably are. Why not?
Well, that's what
say it?
relationships do, isn't it?
Yeah, of course
Yeah.
they do. The reality is that people, this is a new way of communicating, and many people are communicating in this way. They don't just want to read a paper. They don't just want to listen to one man or woman making a speech. They want to listen to a conversation where they can buy into it at some point. Tell us how people get to be part of your blog.
Well, we've got a Facebook group. And it's actually a model of what it's a kind of example of what we're trying to do. There's sort of really interesting discussions that happen. There's over 700 people that subscribe just to the Facebook group, and it's a very lively little community that's grown up. And they often feedback, give us advice, tell us what to do.
And even I think harder than you and I have quite a few commonalities. I mean, we're both evangelical, but in the Facebook group, because you've got people to the right of you and I've got people to the left of me that listen to us. So it's a really diverse group. And
It can be difficult, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always easy. It's not always easy. People have to realise that there are people with very different assumptions coming into the conversation.
And not all Christians. So we've got we've got atheists in the group.
We've got quite a few people who are ex-Christians or people who are...
I wish we could sit and talk all day, but thank you for coming in, and I'm hoping that people will log on and to your Facebook or seek to find, and we'll make sure at Wesley Mission that we give the information available if people want to be able to be part of this ongoing weekly conversation. Michael, Megan, thank you very much indeed for sharing with us.
Thanks, Adam.
Please welcome now Dee Uluirewa, who's going to sing with the Wesley Impact Band, I Will Exalt You.
I will exalt you. I will exalt you. I will exalt you. You are my God. You are my God, my hiding place, my safe refuge, my treasure, Lord. You are my friend and king, anointed one, most holy. Because you're with me, because you're with me, because you're with me, I will not fear. Because you're with me. Yes, you are, my God. Because you're with me. Because you're with me, I will not fear. My hiding place, my safe refuge, my treasure, Lord, you are my friend and king, anointed one, most holy. Yeah. My hiding place, my safe refuge, my treasure, Lord, you are my friend and king, anointed one, most holy. I will exalt you. I will exalt you. I will exalt you. You are my God.
The most successful investment managers recommend that we must always be investing in the long term, not the short term. Another way of putting this is that we should keep the big picture in mind. Now I'm going to read from Luke chapter 16, 1 through to 13. Jesus told his disciples, there was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him in and asked, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be manager any longer. The manager said to himself, what shall I do now? My master is taking away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do. When I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their homes. So he called in one of his own master's debtors. He asked him first, how much do you owe my master? 900 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, take your bill, sit down and make it 450. Then he asked the second, how much do you owe? 1,000 bushels of wheat, he replied. He told him, take your bill and make it 800. The master commended the dishonest manager because he'd acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than they are with the people of light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it's gone, you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you've not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you've not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? No one can serve two masters, Either you'll hate one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Some people consider this passage to be about a shrewd management. Well, of course it's about that, but it's about so much more than that. Jesus calls us to understand the kingdom of God in a way that reminds us of how we must live out our lives and invest our attention and our priorities in relation to the long term. People do fall into get-rich-quick schemes. At Wesley Mission, we're involved in financial counselling and helping people whose lives have gone over the edge in terms of this area of investment. And I'm always amazed at how people can get themselves caught up, answer a telephone conversation, give their full details over the phone, or listen to a story that tells you if you'll only do this, within a month you're going to be this, and then a year you're going to be this. You know, it's amazing how people are drawn in. The dishonest stewards in this passage had a short-term and an irresponsible attitude to managing another's money. And the way that money is managed is an indication of a much more deeper and profound issue about the qualities of our lives. We're all stewards of the resources that God has given to us. And one day we have to give an account of our stewardship. I think if we live in that reality, that what's happening now is only part of the story, there is this bigger picture, and that one day what we're doing now, giving an account of our responsibility and our concern for things, is going to be what we can expect. You see, this is much more than a parable about money. However, the way we deal with material possessions reveals our spiritual character and how we live in relation to God. We must be prepared to give an answer to God in due course, which will reveal the true priorities of our lives. So the way we live now, what we do with what we have, how we help others, how we work with others, is an indication of the deep priorities that are true for our lives. It's only as with what I want to call wisdom that we live out our lives in a way that help us to not only live in that short term, but have that vision of the long term. Our gifts may be many. It might be like the couple I've talked with today. It may be that two very different people from two different settings are able to use their gifts fully and properly. All of us have gifts to use. All of us have resources that we have been given in our lives, and how we use them and how we're concerned about them is important, because God is concerned that we live our lives to the full, that we know what it is to share and use our lives in a way that is full of truth. This passage ends with this truth that's there that tells us something of the way God values our lives. And true riches are much more than possessions. They abide in the deepest points of our lives.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A 5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send us an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on social media. You can also connect through Keith's blog and stay up to date on all the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
Don't hesitate to be in touch if you've got any questions about the Christian faith or anything you've heard on this programme today. Let's see what we have coming up at Wesley Mission.
The Wesley Monthly Stall is on again on Thursday, the 17th of October. Come and grab yourself a bargain from one of the many specialty stalls. Delicious cakes and sweets, retro clothing and jewellery will all be on sale. This year, the Wesley Monthly Stalls are supporting our work with the homeless at Wesley Edward Eager Lodge. Wesley Mission is holding a Wills Day on Thursday the 3rd of October at the Wesley Centre, where you can have your will professionally prepared by an independent solicitor from as little as $60. Bookings are essential, so please visit wesleymission.org.au/wills to reserve your appointment. Wesley Life Force is holding their annual Newcastle Suicide Memorial Service to remember those lost to suicide. The service will be held on Thursday the 3rd of October at Spears Point Park, Spears Point, starting at 12 p.m. For more information on these and other events coming up at Wesley Mission, please visit our website.
The website's on the screen again for more information about coming events. I hope you found my thoughts helpful this morning on spiritual priorities for the long haul, and also that you felt conversation with Michael and Megan was interesting. You can find out all about their podcast With All Due Respect on your podcast provider, or visit our website and follow the links. Thank you once again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again next week at the same time. God bless you.
Wesley Mission walks alongside people of all ages struggling with homelessness, addictions, mental health issues and financial stress. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.